drop your phone. This isn't the usual place you'd expect a hiking video to start, but we are on our way out of the town and the urban environment to somewhere a bit more wild. It's an unseasonably warm day in October. You wouldn't guess it, but the sun will be setting soon. This last bit of residential street I'm walking along is called Holy Well Avenue. There are some side streets coming off with names like Pilgrim Spring, and that is a clue to some of the history of this area. Pilgrims heading to Canterbury from Europe would often pass through Folkestone, which has some pretty interesting history. And along the road, they would drink from a well, which came to be known as Holy Well. Some people even believed that it had restorative properties. So this well, which supposedly has been used by pilgrims for hundreds of years, the earliest description we have of it that's been found is from 1856, in the middle of the 19th century. That's pretty recent in the scheme of things. So does that mean the Holy Well didn't really exist before then? We just don't know. Basically, it's folklore. So there isn't a lot of written history about it. The Victorians were really into making up history and were kind of like obsessive about holy sites and things. This first section here is just really dog walker central. It's quite possible that someone found a spring, noticed that it was near the road to Canterbury and made up a story around it. But it's also possible that it genuinely was a site that pilgrims went to, and that was known locally through kind of oral tradition. What we do know is that by the 19th century, it was used as a sheep dip. There's a bit of text that talks about that, and there was kind of concrete around this area to kind of help contain the water so that it was kind of useful for farming. The location for tonight's little jaunt is a place called Sugarloaf Hill. We are still quite close to the road that you can probably hear. We are still close to the edge of town. And why are we looking for the Holy Well tonight? Well, partly just for fun, partly to show that there are interesting outdoor spaces even close to urban areas, and partly so that I can show you the Katadyn BeFree water filter and demonstrate how it works if we find the well. Okay, and then hopefully we will get back up to the top of the hill for sunset. So we've come round to the other side of the hill and we're heading down because the well is somewhere in those trees. Let's see if we can find it. And I think I'm gonna have to put the camera away because this is very steep. Well, I made it down, but I gotta tell you, quite a bit of that was a controlled fall sliding down on my little bot. So I do not know if we're going to get back up there. We might have to count the sunset out because my number one priority is finding the well. As giving so freely to others. So, after that quick tumble down the hillside, we've quickly found our first candidate for the Holy Well of Folkestone. and that's this little trickle of a stream. So there is a kind of pool behind the trees back there that this trickles out from. There is some kind of spring, the water is flowing, so it's a candidate. But there are maps that mark this spot as a holy well, but I've seen maps that mark it a little bit further that way, across the other side of this stream. So my next job is to find a way across. Do I ford it here in the mud or go round? I think I'm going to go round. This is slick with mud. My commitment to making a video, guys. I made it through the mud to the other side. So just down there is the water we looked at before. The other map says the well is somewhere in these bushes. Okay, it was really worth tramping around because I found a kind of a bit more hidden area, and I'm currently standing in flowing water which is visibly cleaner than that other piece, apart from where I've just walked through it. But crucially here, there is some bits of like masonry and brickwork that looks like there was once something built here. As I say, photos from the 19th century looks like there was a structure around the well. So I'm pretty confident that this is actually the site of the well. In honesty, I think it's fed from the same source, but over the years it's kind of gone out in different directions. So what to do next? Let's have a drink from the Holy Well of Folkestone. So as we move away from the Holy Well of Folkestone, here's something that is amazing to think about. People have been coming to drink from that spot for hundreds of years. People making pilgrimages to Canterbury, hikers. And as I drink from there, I'm joining in with all that history. In that first description of the Holy Well of Folkestone, the writer, who calls the locals country people, tells us that they called it St. Thomas's Well after Thomas Becket. But he notes, and I'll quote, "I confess it seems to me slightly out of road, but there it is, and all I can tell you about it is there is nothing now to be told." Folkestone is no stranger to water-based folklore. Saint Eanswythe, who is a real person, a real 7th century Anglo-Saxon princess who started a priory here in Folkestone, that she's attributed with several miracles, including making water flow uphill. I suspect that the Holy Well was genuinely used by pilgrims at some point. The name's got to have come from somewhere, and its proximity to the road into Canterbury just makes sense. It's an amazing thought to consider that I've drawn water and drank from a water source that was used by pilgrims travelling to Canterbury for potentially hundreds of years. There's still some light left in the sky, so I'm going to hot-foot it back to the top of the hill and see if we can catch a sunset. There's football practice going on over there, quite a long way over there. Makes you wonder, does this town know quite how close they are to history that you can taste? We made it to the very top of the hill, and while the clouds may have denied us full view of the sunset, as we pan round this town, honestly, behind there's a blimmin' massive moon. It was there a second ago. Morning, we're back on Sugarloaf Hill. It's 8 o'clock in the morning. It's raining, but I am very happy. I'll tell you why. I couldn't rest. I had to come out again, have another search around and really confirm if I'd found the right spot. Right now, I am standing within what was once Holy Well Pond. You can see all this brown stuff. They're actually broken reeds because this kind of fills with water from springs and the hills around, and that's what feeds the Holy Well. We saw it in those photos from the 19th century, and it's those photos that I'm using to really work out where we are. So this is Holy Well Pond. We found it. It is right above where we drew water from. Here's where we drew water the other day. There's some lovely blackberries here, might as well have one of those. I found something this morning which really makes me excited. So here's where I came down, and I thought this was just a mud bank, but looking more closely, we've got brickwork, we've got concrete, and as you look round, there's actually a curve of concrete, a semicircle of concrete, exactly like in the photos. There can be no doubt this is the exact spot. Doing some research, finding those photos and coming out again armed with that knowledge is what allowed me to confirm for certain that we'd found the right spot. So that's a big win for research. The clearest photo I had, I actually found on eBay while I was searching. So you never know what will come up. But even if I hadn't found anything, it was still lovely to come out on a rainy Saturday morning, seeing the rabbits around, seeing the birds, and just enjoying the peace and quiet of nature. And just like that, we're back in the normal world.